Over the past year or so, Bradley Martyn has become an internet meme for how much he backs himself in a street fight. His infamous declaration, "I would kill you in a street fight," has been echoed across social media platforms, turning into a catchphrase that many find both amusing and perplexing. The running joke about Bradley being 260 pounds is a staple of his persona, as he brings it up nearly every chance he gets. "Damn, I'm 260, bro," he often exclaims, emphasizing his weight as if it's the sole factor determining the outcome of any potential fight. This obsession with his size has led to numerous clips of him wrestling other, much smaller influencers. Unsurprisingly, he often wins these encounters, but coming out on top against an influencer and winning against a trained fighter are two very different things. Throughout 2023, whenever Brad had a boxer or mixed martial artist on his podcast, he posed the question of who would win in a street fight. The guests he asked were always significantly smaller than him, leading to arguments that hinged on his weight advantage. He insisted that if he got a hold of them, it would all be over. However, the responses he received were often dismissive, with many saying he wouldn't stand a chance against them. People think that muscles mean something, but as many pointed out, strength alone doesn't guarantee victory in a fight. One guest noted, "You think you can beat me in a street fight? You're a podcaster, brother." This kind of feedback highlights the delusion of believing that he could defeat someone like Nate Diaz in a street fight. It's surprising to see how many people understand something Bradley doesn't, especially when even seasoned fighters are trying to talk sense into him. They explain that in a real fight, accuracy and technique matter far more than sheer size. "You're going to expose yourself with a body shot," one fighter remarked, emphasizing the importance of skill over brawn. "You're really overestimating your chin." It's a stark reminder that just because someone is larger doesn't mean they're indestructible. Before we delve deeper into some of Bradley's more questionable takes, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor for today's video. MyBookie is your one-stop shop for all things sports betting. Whether you're interested in basketball, tennis, golf, or anything in between, you'll find what you're looking for at MyBookie. I love spicing things up for big fights by putting my money where my mouth is. With Anthony Joshua vs Daniel Dubois on the horizon and Ilia Topuria facing Max Holloway next month, there's no shortage of exciting fights to bet on. If American football is more your style, this is the perfect time to get involved, as this year's college football season is fully underway. MyBookie offers opportunities to win on every catch, sack, and touchdown, so you definitely don't want to miss out. To celebrate their 10th anniversary, MyBookie is offering a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. They'll match 100% of whatever you put in and even throw in a $10 casino chip. To claim this offer, just follow the link in the description and use the promo code provided. It's that easy, so make sure to kick things off funded by the house. Now, back to Bradley. One of his worst takes has to be when he claimed he could defeat MMA legend Demetrius "Mighty Mouse" Johnson in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Mighty Mouse is a small man, competing at 125 pounds, which is less than half of Bradley's body weight. However, he is a black belt in BJJ and one of the greatest fighters ever to grace the sport. There's a clip of him submitting a 250-pound BJJ brown belt, showcasing his skill and technique. But Bradley just couldn't wrap his mind around how he could lose to someone so much smaller than him. He argued that grapplers would struggle against his size, saying, "With guys like that, they're going to get to your ankles so fast, you're not going to have time to pick him up." What he fails to realize is that technique plays a crucial role in grappling. Yes, weight matters, but if you don't know what you're doing, a skilled opponent will use that weight against you. Moreover, Mighty Mouse walks around at more like 150 pounds, so he's not as small as Bradley believes. In a grappling match, there would be no time limit, and Bradley would have no chance. He would be taken down and choked out in no time. The reality is that grappling is about positioning, and Bradley's lack of respect for this aspect of combat sports shows his misunderstanding of the sport. You'd think someone with prior experience would be more humble. A few years ago, he posted a video where he got ragdolled during practice at a gym in Tarzana, California. He got rocked and admitted, "That was a good punch." Since that moment, he seems to have inflated his ego, overestimating his abilities. He's gone after various influencers, including Bryce Hall, continuing to taunt him even after Bryce could no longer fight back. In another instance, he violently slammed Steve Will Do It into the ground during one of their confrontations, showcasing his need to assert dominance. However, the worst instance of him picking a fight with a smaller guy happened after a podcast with Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen. Brian, who was 54 years old at the time, warned Brad not to pick a fight with Dylan Dennis, a black belt in jiu-jitsu. After the podcast, Brad and Brian ended up in a tussle, and the footage is quite telling. Despite Brian's injury, Bradley went for his neck, showing just how much he cares about looking tough instead of considering the safety of others. The fact that he struggled against someone who isn't even a fighter raises questions about his confidence. He often portrays himself as a tough guy, but when faced with someone closer to his size or with real experience, he seems to falter. This pattern continues with his interactions with others. Often, he jumps to aggression and threats when faced with confrontation, which makes him seem insecure. Many people have pointed out that he has a tendency to escalate situations unnecessarily. For instance, during a recent altercation, he confronted someone who was simply talking to him, escalating the situation into a shouting match. It's almost as if he feels the need to prove himself constantly, leading to moments that make him look foolish rather than tough. In late 2022, he had a sparring session with Sneeko at his gym, which ended poorly for Sneeko. Brad spent the entire session throwing punches directly at Sneeko's face, leading to Sneeko getting a chipped tooth and a cut on his eyebrow. When Sneeko called him out for going too hard, Bradley's response was defensive, insisting he wasn't going hard and that Sneeko was just being overly dramatic. This incident further illustrates his inability to recognize the consequences of his actions and how they affect others. Bradley's need to appear tough extends to how he handles situations with influencers and friends. He often goes overboard, and it's clear that he has a pattern of not knowing when to hold back. This has led to numerous incidents where people have gotten hurt, either physically or emotionally. For example, during a sparring match with Stable Ronaldo, a pro esports player and Twitch streamer, things took a turn when Stable Ronaldo playfully swiped Bradley's hat. Instead of handling it calmly, Bradley slapped him in the face, showcasing a disproportionate response to a harmless prank. This reaction highlights how self-conscious he is about his image and how he perceives disrespect. If Stable Ronaldo had been a bigger guy, it's unlikely that Bradley would have reacted the same way. There have been multiple examples lately of how things actually go for Bradley when he faces opponents closer to his size or those with experience. One time, a 160-pound wrestler challenged him to a match at his gym. Bradley tried to catch the guy by surprise, but he still lost, which was pretty embarrassing. In another incident, he wrestled a security guard who was nearly the same size as him. The guard not only forced him to tap out but also removed his cap, exposing his hair, something Bradley is notoriously self-conscious about. Perhaps the most significant moment came when he had a confrontation with Logan Paul. Bradley had been vocal about wanting to see Jake Paul get knocked out in his fight against Nate Diaz. Logan didn't take kindly to this and called Bradley out on it. Following this, Bradley tweeted that he wanted to fight Logan outside his gym. Logan accepted the challenge, leading to a highly publicized showdown. The fact that Bradley was willing to fight someone with Logan's experience and size shows either immense confidence or a severe lack of understanding of his limitations. When Logan showed up at Bradley's gym for the fight, the tension was palpable. They discussed the terms, and although they agreed to no cameras, the stakes were high. The fight itself was not recorded, but from all accounts, it was clear that Logan dealt with Bradley easily. The aftermath of the fight showed a stark contrast between the two. While Logan appeared relatively unscathed, Bradley seemed to have taken some damage. The look on their faces post-fight said it all. Bradley's ego took a significant hit, especially considering how much he had boasted leading up to the event. In interviews following the fight, when asked about the outcome, Bradley seemed reluctant to accept any defeat. He insisted that it was just a sparring match, downplaying the entire experience. His defensive posture only highlighted how deeply ingrained his need to appear tough is, even in the face of undeniable evidence to the contrary. He has become somewhat of a meme, unable to accept that he isn't as tough as he believes himself to be. Many argue that his entire persona of, "I'll take you in a street fight," is just for clicks, and while there's no denying it has garnered him a lot of views and attention, it's evident that there's more to it. Bradley's need for validation and respect is palpable, and it seems to stem from a combination of ego and insecurity. This duality is what keeps him in the spotlight, but it also leads him into precarious situations that could easily be avoided if he chose humility over bravado. As we wrap up this deep dive into Bradley Martyn's internet meme phenomenon, it's clear that his antics have provided endless entertainment for viewers. However, beneath the surface, there's a complex individual grappling with self-image, validation, and the consequences of his actions. It's a fascinating case study of how social media can amplify both confidence and insecurity, and how the line between the two can often blur. So, what do you think about Bradley Martyn? Is he just a meme, or is there something deeper at play? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, confidence is key, but humility is essential.